Hey everybody, Rosematter here, and welcome to the beginning of Chapter 8 of Umineko, aka the last chapter. It's crazy to think that this wild ride of Umineko will be coming to an end relatively soon. I'm very sad about that, but I'm excited to see how this whole thing is going to wrap up and what this final chapter has in store for us after getting so many answers in the last chapter. So I guess we should just go ahead and let's get started. Alright, so we're back at the chapel. Hopefully the fact that the beginning had, the main screen had that picture of Leon and Will means that we'll see more of them, because I like their characters. It'd be sad if they just got introduced for one chapter. Two silhouettes could be seen in the chapel. Maybe it's them. Maybe we'll see them right away. Oh, that's right. We did leave off. Oh, we left off with Angie and Battler. That's right. Battler did say he was going to tell the story, and he said it wasn't a sad story. The big brother and his little sister. The big brother who had never returned from that day 12 years in the past, and the little sister who waited all alone 12 years in the future. However, the big brother knew everything, understood everything, and the little sister knew nothing, understood nothing. So no matter how much time passed, the little sister remained as the girl she had been 12 years ago. She remained a 6-year-old girl forever. Her sobs into her big brother's chest finally subsided. Okay, this is interesting. So we're picking up right where the very, very end of Chapter 7 left off. She quietly waited for his next words. After patting her head gently, the big brother fished around inside his shirt pocket. Then he took something out.
いいかい、エンジェ。これを大事に持つんだ。
これ、何？鍵？
Battler took a large key attached to a necklace out of his pocket, then held it out to Angie. It was large enough to cover Battler's entire palm, and little Angie probably wouldn't even be able to wrap her hand all the way around it. It's a butterfly and roses. Ah. The key glittered gold and had a beautiful, intricate design. Its weight alone made it clear this key was something very important. Battler put the necklace around Angie's neck.
これはエンジェだけの大切な鍵だ。
何の鍵なの？
Oh, we finally... I've been saying it for so long. I'm like, where's little baby Angie sprite? We finally get one. She's adorable. Aw, look at her little dress. I would love to have a little dress like that.
使うべき時は
And of course, she's got her little hair ties that Battler won for her.
そしてエンジェが自分で決めるんだ。わかるね。
Of course, she didn't have a clue what Battler was talking about, but she did realize he was telling her to take good care of this key. So Angie nodded, at least in response to that part. In her hand, the key had felt heavy. However, now that it was around her neck, it felt as light as an ordinary necklace. How strange.
さあ、行こうか。
どこへ？
She had been sure her brother was about to sit down. Just a second ago, he'd said he'd tell her what happened on Rokkenjima that day. She had thought he would tell her here.
あの日、あの島で何があったのか。
お兄ちゃんがそれを聞かせてくれるんじゃないの？
聞かせるとも。
Maybe he's gonna show her through, like the way that Leon saw it through fragments. Rather than, like, just sitting down telling her the story, he's gonna show her.
話してエンジェに聞かせる。でもそれはエンジェにはただ話を聞いているだけには感じられないかもしれない。
それはどういうこと？
エンジェが本当に望んでいるのはあの日あの島であったことを知りたいんじゃない。
So he does understand after all. What happened on the island that day? Trying to answer that question was all I was capable of, so I wished for nothing more. But if I could, I'd want to go there. to that island on that day. To Rokkenjima on that day I couldn't go. To the Ushurimiya family mansion. Mom and Dad. All my cousins. All my relatives. And everyone else. I want to go back to that island on that day. So I've always remained the way I was on that day. My heart and soul stopped, stuck as a 6-year-old's forever.
帰りたいの、私は。
It might be a little bit of a traumatizing thing for a 6-year-old to see, but okay.
分かってる。
お父さんとお母さん、お兄ちゃん、みんな、私はみんなのところへ帰りたい。
I don't like Angie being there would not have changed a damn thing. That just would have been one more person who got killed on the island. They say a thing about like if you could change something back in time, like would that change the events? But I don't think Angie there would have changed anything.
だから
Well,
招くことにしたんだ。
I mean, interesting to say, right? About like especially if people were telling me that to still like don't accept what was shown in the last chapter as like the full truth of what happened. There's more to it than that. But assuming the whole thing with Kyrie and Rudolph, like Kyrie was going on about how she doesn't care about Angie, but if it came down to it, if Angie was there, would Kyrie have killed her? I don't think so.
お兄ちゃんはもう
Okay, Battler's the game master. I should have known. He has the cape on.
ゲーム版の全てを知る者だけがゲーム版を開き駒を招くことができる。
Oh my gosh, we get to see little Angie. It'll be interesting to see how the game changes with her there.
だから俺は
And then she just gets horribly killed off.
招待する。
私をあの日のロッケン島へ
But
連れて行ってくれるの？
Battler did say that this was not a sad story. So we'll see.
エンジェを1986年のロッケン島へ招待しよう。
So we have the game board, the game that Bernkestel showed. And now we've got the one that Battler is going to show. I imagine they're going to be quite different.
会えるの？みんなに。
もちろん。
私もう記憶もおぼろげでみんなの顔はっきりと思い出せないのに。
すぐに思い出すさ。そしてエンジェにとっては12年ぶりの再会でも俺たちにとってはしばらくぶりでしかないんだ。みんな歓迎する。12年の遠い未来からようやく帰ってきたエンジェを。
私はいつまでもそこにいられるの？
This way, I'll be able to be with everyone forever. This is the goal I'm supposed to reach.
エンジェ、よくお聞き。
but Battler spoke in an admonishing tone, as though warning me that this dream would not be granted.
ロッケン島の親族会議は一泊で終わる。あの日は台風だったから船の都合で2泊だったけれどね。
それが過ぎたら私は島から帰らなくてはならないの？
少し違う。それを決めるのも
Oh, interesting. That's the whole thing about the key?
エンジェがそれを決める。
Ooh, that'd be crazy if it gave me a choice at the end, as Angie, whether I guess what, to stay or to go? I understand, of course. I don't exist on the island on that day. It's a miracle just to be invited there like this. Just the 2 days before the typhoon passes. Just getting those days to myself is already the sort of miracle that will never come again. If I'm greedy enough to ask for more, that faint miracle might vanish. Even though I thought this, my young heart, which was still 6 years old, wasn't satisfied with that short-lived miracle.
帰りたくない。
わかるよ。
いつまでもみんなと一緒にいる。家族で一緒にいる。お兄ちゃんがもう帰らなくちゃって言っても私はロッケン島に残る。
残るのが正しいとか帰るのが正しいとかそういうのじゃないんだよエンジェ。
それでもそれを私が選ぶの？
そうだよ。そのための鍵が
I wonder if the reason why,
それなんだよ。
other than the fact that it said that Angie is stuck in, like, basically the heart of a 6-year-old, I wonder if the reason that she looks so little is because this is how Battler remembers her, because obviously he died when she was 6, so he doesn't know her after that. Battler touched the glittering key that hung from Angie's neck.
私の答えはもう。
Yeah, it sounds like she's made her choice. When she sees all that stuff, sees what her family does, though, will she feel the same way?
今は選ばなくていい。
I mean, the Angie, I guess the one version of Angie, the grown-up Angie, already saw what happened. One side of what happened with her family.
選ぶべき時はすぐに訪
I
れ
wonder
る
if
から。
Battler is insinuating that, like, after you see what happens, maybe you'll change your mind?
その時のエンジェの素直な心で
Ooh, I'd be so interested if,
その鍵を
The game-
どう使うか
right at the end,
選びなさい。
gives me a choice.
お兄ちゃんの言うことなんか何も聞かなくてもいい。エンジェのわがままなように答えを決めても構わない。でももしもエンジェがいい子でお兄ちゃんを信用できるなら、
信用できるなら？
お兄ちゃんの言うことは全て信じなさい。
すべて信じる。
それがエンジェにとって
Okay.
一番いい選択になるから。お兄ちゃんの言葉に耳を傾け、
This is the game telling me to maybe
そして
just believe everything he's about to say.
全てを
Like, this is
信じな
the
さい。
actual truth. This is what it is.
できるかい？
わかんない。
This is so cute though. Like, I'm so glad at the very end we get Battler and Angie together again.
それでもいい。
And Angie's been fighting so hard for this, and for her to finally get a chance for this, it feels earned. It does feel well earned.
信じたいものだけを信じればいい。それもエンジェが決めていいんだよ。
お兄ちゃんを信じないとこの夢は覚めてしまうの？
そんなことはない。だから安心していいよ。
Then again, this game has burned me so many times before that when he says believe everything I say, I'm like, should I though? For some reason, Angie was suspicious of her brother and scared of him, just like I'm feeling that way too. For it to blatantly say believe everything that I say, I've been burned enough times. Her wish was to remain on that island on that day together with her family forever. She was afraid that once she got her 2 miraculous days, her brother might tell her to be satisfied with those and ask her to return to 12 years in the future all alone.
さっきも言ったと思う。 残るのが正しいとか帰るのが正しいとかそういうのはないんだよ。それをエンジェが決める。そしてそれは今すぐ決めなくていい。
そのどちらかの選択を誰も強要しない？
もちろん。
お兄ちゃんは私に未来へ帰れなんて言わない？
お兄ちゃんはエンジェに選んでほしい。それをエンジェが自発的に選んでくれることを
And at
望
the
ん
end,
で
if she doesn't make that choice, he'll just be like, very disappointed in you.
だから望んではいるがエンジェの選
I
択
feel
は
like
尊重したい。
it is kind of maybe hinting that me as Angie will be able to make a choice. And I hope so. I really do.
私もさっき言った。私の答えはもう決まっているよ。
I think the fact that Battler is telling her to just hold off on making her choice, I think that maybe is his subtle way of pushing that he doesn't want her to stay on the island. Maybe that's like his way of being like, if you choose not to stay on the island, it means that you accept what happens, you move past it, you learn to live your own life and not be stuck in the past.
俺もさっき言った。今はそれを選択する時じゃない。
それはいつ？
その鍵がいずれ。
A large gold key hung from Angie's neck. Her small hand held it tightly. At that moment, she noticed a book lying on the chapel's altar. The book had a lock on it, and was sealed so it could not be read without a key. Angie looked between the key hanging at her chest and the book on the altar.
あの本はこの鍵で開くの？
あの本はダメだ。
Ooh. Interesting. His sudden forceful response made Angie flinch. Battler, realizing he scared Angie, softened his expression.
さあ行こう。
Interesting.
1986年10月4日にエンジェを招待するよ。
I mean, you put a book, invisible spot with a key, like that could be unlocked by a key. Looks like she can unlock. Like, is that his story? One of the stories of Beatrice? Interesting. I wonder if that's a choice. Like, if she chooses to unlock that book or not. Maybe that's part of the choice. Battler held out his hand, and Angie gripped it tightly. Then they started walking. Oh, that's adorable! A brilliant light lay beyond the chapel's door. Man, Angie's got style. Like, that is such a pretty dress. So cute. That blinding light peeked in through the cracks around the door. The brother and sister began to walk through to the other side.
O kaeri, Ange. そしてこれで最後なんだ。
Aw, thank you, game, for reminding me about that this is going to be the end of it.
このゲーム版をエンジェのために最後に。
It's like Battler feels like he got some, what's the word I think of? Like, he got closure of being able to figure out the whole game, but he knows that Angie still has questions and needs, like, some closure as well. So he's like, alright, for her, I will do this as, like, one final gift to her. And, here we go again. It's good to have Battler back, though. Oh my gosh, it's going... Ugh. It's going even crazier than usual. Is Angie actually going to be on with him, being like, gonna fall with Maria? Once again, Captain Kawabata's ferry boat to Rokkenjima cut across the sea in perfect form. I am struggling to read this with this shaking so much. Yes, the tale of October 4th, 1986 always begins with Battler's screams. But this time, one thing was different. There was another person's yell alongside Battler's. Oh, please let her also being like, gonna fall. Battler was screaming. The other was laughing. Oh, or not.
Omoshiroi!
Yeah. Alright, so I heard the sound.
バトラ変な顔変な顔。
I love how it's still bouncing. Okay, let's get off the screen for a moment. Angie, little baby Angie. Rudolph and Kyrie's daughter, Battler's younger sister from a different mother. Wait, what? But I thought it was well, I know they said, you guys said, don't trust everything that was, but that it was insinuated, I'm pretty sure, that Kyrie is actually Battler's mother. But now, so what if, that'd be interesting if Angie actually wasn't from Kyrie. Maybe that's the big shocker, is like Battler is actually Kyrie's son, but Angie is not Kyrie's daughter. She gets sick easily, but she managed to get better just in time to attend this year's family conference. She's so happy this year, surrounded by her beloved family and relatives. This will be so interesting to see how things change with her there. Alongside the big brother, who is grasping at the handrail and screaming in a way no one his age should, was the little sister, also grasping the handrail and jumping about like it was a ride at an amusement park. George and the others couldn't hold in their laughter at the difference.
6年を経てもバトラ君は本当に賑やかだね。
エンジェもマリアも今年はひときわ賑やかだぜ。
Must be nice for Maria to actually have someone close to her age around too.
いとこ5人が全員揃うのってひょっとしてこれが初めて？
あれ、そうかな。なるほどね。今年はこれまでになく最高に賑やかったわけだ。
That's one way of putting it, I suppose.
ジョージの兄貴、これ早すぎねえか。頼むよ、船の人に言ってスピードを下げてもらってくれ。
こんなので早すぎなんてバトラ情けない、バトラ情けない。エンジェ、もっと早いのがいい。もっともっと。
これ以上早くなったらお兄ちゃん船から落ちちゃうぞ。いいのか、落ちて。落ちる
多数決の結果バトラ君の速度を下げるという提案は
却下みてえだぜ。
ほらほら、お兄ちゃん落ちちゃうよ、落ちちゃうよ。怖がりのバトラはくすぐりの刑だ。
It's right. Didn't they say that Angie has a hard time, like, being in, like, she gets sick or something, like she doesn't travel well in vehicles? Or was that, oh, that might be, Asuma, whatever his mother was? Because I was like, if Angie's so sickly, I was like, she seems to be enjoying herself quite well here. I think it was the mother who was, like, didn't do well traveling.
よせ、やめろマリア。エンジェもやめろ。
I would be Battler, maybe not saying I'm gonna fall, but more like I'm gonna be sick. Please stop. Like even just watching the screen here is just making me like I can't look at it directly.
よかった。エンジェの体調心配だったんだけど。
I don't know. I'm still side-eyeing these two. It's hard to shake off what happened in the last chapter.
無理にでも連れてきてよかったぜ。
直前に大きく体調を崩したって聞いてたけれど、それが今朝になったらケロリよ。子供って本当にすごいわ。
緊張が体調に出るタイプなんやろな。そういうのはいざ当日を迎えるとケロッと治ることもあるもんや。
いとこ5人ではしゃぐのが楽しくて仕方ないんでしょうね。
子供たちが楽しそうにしているのを見ているとこっちまで元気になってきますね。
The adults smiled as they watched the children play around. Angie had gotten very sick. For a time, everyone had expected she would be absent, but she had made a miraculous recovery. Thanks in part to her strong desire to join in, she had come along to the family conference with the others. It's so sad to think, like, if she actually had done that, like, being all happy that she managed to make it, and then just to get brutally murdered. And so, for the first time ever, all 5 cousins were gathered together. October 4th, 1986 became a day like no other. Once again, also true, in many different ways. The kids dashed up the path leading from the harbor to the rose garden. They were probably so charged up that even walking was too boring for them.
見たか一番
Battler was the first to leap across the finish line that was the entrance to the rose garden. Apparently, he was trying to make up for the dishonor he had suffered on the boat by proving his superiority on land. A short while later, Angie and Maria reached him in dead heat.
マリアが2番エンジより速い違うよマリアお姉ちゃんはズルしたもんエンジが2番だもん
The 3-year gap between Angie and Maria was large, especially since both of them were growing kids. It was only natural Maria was faster, but Angie seemed to be complaining about a shoulder bump at the start line. Maria Oni-chan cheated, so she gets last place. Teacher always said you get last place if you cheat, protested Angie.
ほらほら喧嘩するなってそれにしても2人とも本当に速いな
こんなに走ったのはずいぶん久しぶりだよ。ああ、風が気持ちいいね。
ジョージの兄貴は運動不足じゃねえの？毎朝の遅刻レースに鍛えられてりゃ誰だって足腰は強くなるもんだぜ。
つまりその足の速さは朝寝坊の証ってわけだね。
お兄ちゃんはお寝坊なの今朝も起きなかったからエンジが起こしたんだよね
ストンピングからフライングエルボー最後のトップロープからのボディープレスは強烈だったな。
起きるどころか永遠に起きれなくなりそうな目覚めだぜ。
面白そうマリアもやるマリアもやるお兄ちゃんきっと明日も寝坊するよ今度はマリアお姉ちゃんと一緒に起こすよ
今夜は夜更かしは大概にした方が良さそうだね。
Well, you might not make it to the next day, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, if anything from what was revealed in the last chapter, where all that stuff happened, I think on the first night, like everybody got killed. Finally, the adults came into sight. The cousins waved at them, urging them to hurry up. Angie and Maria were so excited they could hardly wait. Just by having all 5 cousins together, just by adding Angie into the group. Look at how energetic this day has become. It'd be funny if, like, Angie somehow saved everybody. Just little teeny tiny 6-year-old Angie. By her being there, somehow everything turns out okay. And it's just so strange to see Shannon. Like, I knew the stuff about Shannon, but, like, after reading the Confession of the Golden Witch and everything, it's just... I can't look at her the same way either. There's so much to her that it's just wild. The poor thing. All the stuff she had to suffer through.
無事に着いたかね。では私は親父殿に伝えてくるとしよう。
皆さんは今はゲストハウスに？
はい。荷物を置かれましたらこちらへ挨拶に来られるとのことです。
わかりました。カノンは皆さんのご案内を。シャノンは紅茶の準備を急ぐように。
かしこまりました。奥様。
But then, so there's those moments too, right? Like where Kennen and Shannon usually aren't together on screen, and people aren't talking to both at the same time because they said the whole thing about how like their schedules lined up so that they were never together, so it was easy to kind of pull off that switch. But then there's moments like this where I'm just like, I don't know, how does that explained?
お父さん、クラウスです。そろそろご準備をお願いします。
This is just gonna be like, Kinzo's not gonna be alive. There's no way. Obviously, right? Like, all right.
南條先生。
Let's just bring his corpse down.
親父殿は。
ご安心を。もう着替えておりますぞ。ただ少し緊張されているようですな。
誰が緊張しているというのか。
Is this just like some sort of like, this is the miracle thing where somehow Kinzo's still alive? Everything will be just fine. Angie's here. It's all good. This is why Battler said this is not a sad story.
お気に入りの片翼のネクタイピンが見つからぬ。
Battler said to trust everything he says, but I don't know.
だからいつも夏希に言っているのだ。勝手に物の場所を動かすなと。
Apparently, Kinzo had been in a panic for some time over the simple matter of choosing a tie and tie pin. Kinzo, who valued the dignity of the family head above all else, always made a big deal about being appropriately attired.
なんとかなりそうですかの？
もうしばらく時間をいただけますかな。準備ができたら下へ参りますので。
わかりました。南條先生、よろしくお願いします。お父さん、そのネクタイピンでもよく似合っていますよ。
そのネクタイピンとは何か、そのとは。
Why is Kinzo such a little baby bitch in this one? He's like literally crying.
妥協など許せんぞ。あのネクタイピンでなくてはダメだ。
I just love the idea of Battler doing the voice for Kinzo and just making him just a little whiny baby.
どこだどこだどこだ
This is so strange.
金蔵さん、その引き出しはさっき調べたでしょうが。
Maybe Battler's telling the story for Angie to make it more entertaining. I don't know.
それに素晴らしいネクタイピンをいくつもお持ちのはずだ。
I don't like him being this close to me.
今日というお日柄に合わせてふさわしいものをセレクトするのもおしゃれの見せ所ですぞ。そうであるか。片翼のわしじゃなくてもよいのか。
As Kraus watched Nanjo calm Kinzo down, he began to wonder why this doctor wasn't his mother. Well, it was always like this. He always made a fuss when no one's looking, but when the time comes, he makes his decision with pride. After asking Nanjo to come down by lunch at the latest, Kraus snuck out of the study. Already, this is just like so much more, I don't know, joyous and happy than usual, even knowing what might be to come.
いい香りでしょう。そして珍しいでしょう。
パンプキンティーなんて初めて飲みました。ほんのり甘くて美味しいですね。
Before serving the tea to the guests, Goda served some to Shannon. Until then, Shannon had thought it would be outrageous for a servant such as herself to drink the same thing as the family and their guests. However, according to Goda, that kind of thinking was a mistake.
お客様にお出しするものを味も知らずに出すことはできません。例えば、訪れたレストランで初めて知る料理に興味を持ったとき、ウエーターを呼び止めたならこう聞くでしょう。この料理はどんな味ですかと。
そうですね。そこで食べたことがないから知りませんでは、なんだかおかしな話ですものね。
そういうことです。給仕に携わるものならば、お客様にお出しするお茶やお料理の味については熟知していて当然なのです。
それに自分で飲んで美味しかったお茶ならお出しする時にも自然と嬉しくなってしまうものですしね。
その通りですね。こんな美味しいお茶ならぜひ皆さんにも飲んでもらいたいって気持ちになります。
だからこそ私たち使用人はあらゆるお料理の味に熟知しなければならないのです。だから私がひょいとつまみ食いをしてしまったとしても、それも使用人の務め。
役得であり仕事であるわけです。わかりましたか？
はい。
準備ご苦労。お茶の方は問題ないか？
ああ、源氏さんもぜひ飲んでみてください。
He's like, no, I don't eat. It's okay. I am a robot.
ハロウィン
I
らしく
don't need sustenance.
今日はかぼちゃの紅茶ですよ。
後でもらおう。もうじき親族の方々がお屋敷にいらっしゃられる。
There's nothing disproving that Genji is not a robot. Just saying. Put that out there.
お子様方もご一緒しそうな雰囲気だ。
はい。カップの用意も万全です。
At that moment, the kitchen's extension line started to ring. Genji, who was standing right beside it, swiftly picked up the receiver before the second ring. Shannon and the others always thought Genji looked like a samurai when he did this.
わかった。粗相のないようにご案内を。
After making that short response, Genji set the receiver down.
カノンからだ。今から親族方がこちらにおいでになる。お子様方もご一緒とのことだ。シャノンと熊沢はお出迎えを。ゴーダは紅茶の準備を急ぐように。
はい。
The family conference, the largest event of the year for the servants. Their morale was high, and they were all full of determination to make it through another year by banding together. Yeah, about that.
失礼いたします。親族の皆様をお連れしました。
Wouldn't it be funny if that was the whole thing? Like maybe this is a story that Battler tells where nothing bad happens, everything's fine, everybody lives happily, and it's up to Angie. That's the decision to make, is like, will you choose to accept that, or will you choose to accept reality? I don't know. Like, open that book at the beginning that has the keyhole that seems to fit that key. Because I'm just like, why would there be a book where she can see it, that, you know, she has a key, that book needs a key to open it, and yet he tells her not to touch it? I don't know.
道中問題はなかったかね。
兄さん、儲けてるんでしょ。そろそろ自家用ジェットを買いなさいよ。
今回の機内も後ろ宮家しかおらんかったからな。
エンジェちゃん、来られてよかったですね。体調が悪いから欠席するかもしれないと聞いて心配していたのですよ。
ご心配をおかけしました。今朝になったら急に元気になりまして。
お腹痛いのどっか行っちゃった。
I get like that sometimes too, like when I know I'm about to go on a trip. Maybe it's like they said, like the excitement or whatever, or it's just like, and then it makes you like nervous or something, or anxiety or whatever, and then the day of, usually it tends to go away, or like it's still there for me, but then like once things are happening, then I tend to relax a bit.
お腹をぐるぐる時計回りにさせるの。お腹痛いのが治る魔法のおまじないなの。
こらマリア、少し静かにしなさい。
おお、そっちはバトラ君かね。大きくなった。
6年ぶりですね。本当に立派になりました。
いやおかげさまで背ばっか伸びまして。
肝っ玉の方は相変わらずみてえだけどな。
むしろ相変わらずバトラ君でいてくれて僕は。
Everyone laughed. No matter how big his body grew, Battler would always be Battler.
こいつは飛行機でも船でも落ちるのなんのと相変わらず賑やかでな。
アスムさんの血でしょ。
Yep, that is. Okay, that's what I said, was that it's Asumu who had that same fear of like traveling.
多分あれだぜ。こいつが小さい頃遊園地で激しめなのばっか乗せて回ったからだ。
I was gonna say, maybe a little taboo for Kyrie to bring up Asumu, considering, you know, everything that's happened.
身長制限で乗れないんじゃないの？
いやいや。ティーカップとか足こぎボートとかいろいろあるだろ。
It's alright, Battler, I'm the same way. I'm a big weenie when it comes to like roller coasters and those crazy rides. Stick me on the other things, like even the teacup rides. I don't like those because I'm like, those are too spinny. I don't like things that spin.
そういうのをちょいと激しめに付き合わせたのがまずかったみたいだ。
ルドルフ兄さんは昔からそういうのやりすぎるたちだから。
それはかわいそうに。
バトラ君には同情するよ。
でも安心したわ。乗り物嫌いでこそバトラ君って感じだものね。
お兄ちゃんは乗り物が嫌いなんじゃないの。落ちるから嫌いなの。落ちる落ちる。
こら走り回らないの。マリア、お姉ちゃんでしょ。お手本を見せなさい。
失礼します。お茶の配膳に参りました。
pleasant aroma followed Shannon as she came into the room pushing a serving cart. Even Angie and Maria, who'd been running around in circles, sat down obediently when they heard that drinks were here.
ところで親父はどうしてんだ？
もうじき降りてくるだろう。ネクタイ一本選ぶのに朝から大騒ぎだよ。
相変わらず当主として威厳ある服装がどうのこうの。
お父さんって昔からネク
I
タ
was
イに
just
はやたらうる
expecting
さいわよね。
Ava to be like, you mean if he's alive, like immediately starts in. This just, I know it always kind of starts like this, where everything is just like cheery and upbeat, and then slowly, as they get to like the actual family conference, then, you know, the claws come out, but like this seems even more just like, I don't know, like there's a good vibe going.
こだわりがあられるのでしょう。おしゃれなのは良いことです。
その割に結局いつも同じネクタイで現れるのね。
The family members burst out laughing. The sweet scent of Goda's specially made pumpkin tea spread through the parlor, and the calm atmosphere grew more cheery and excited.
ママ見て、ママ見て、パンプキンのクッキーだよ。ハロウィンだ。
あら、本当ね。この甘い匂いはかぼちゃなのかしら。
はい、今日のお紅茶は珍しいパンプキンのフレーバーなんですよ。とっても美味しいですから、最初はぜひストレートで召し上がってみてください。
And then look at this. She's grown so much. I remember when she served, I think, was it like the very first episode where she served tea? And Ava was kind of needling her about, like, how the tea tasted. And she's like, well, I'm not sure. And Ava's like, how does a servant not know what the tea tastes like?
姉さん、袖気をつけて。へえ、かぼちゃの紅茶なんてあるんだ。ゴーダさんはよくこんなのを見つけてくるよな。
美味しいね。なかなかいいよ。かぼちゃの自然な甘みが感じられるね。
かぼちゃを紅茶にね。でもよ、かぼちゃと言ったら天ぷらが一番だよな。
おお、かぼちゃじゃないの、パンプキンなの。パンプキンはかぼちゃじゃないの、パンプキンなの。
Maria seemed to be complaining about the difference of nuance between the Japanese and English words, but it looked like Angie thought kabocha and pumpkins were entirely different things. Everyone laughed, but Angie cocked her head to one side discontentedly, not understanding what was so funny. Just when it looked like she was about to get in a bad mood and start grumbling, Maria started teaching her a cookie game, and Angie immediately became engrossed with that distraction. And look at that, instead of Maria being the one to have to be distracted when she's in a bad mood, now she's doing that to Angie. Then the clomping sound of approaching heavy footsteps could be heard from the hallway. Having a pretty good idea of whose footsteps they were, the relatives straightened their backs. Those quick footsteps stopped for a moment just outside the parlor door, as though someone was taking a deep breath and setting up a dramatic pause. Then, as the door exploded open, Kinzo, with Genji and Nanjo standing behind him, yelled out loud.
Happy Halloween!
I was about to joke, I was like, is Kinzo just going to be a total goofball in this episode? Apparently so.
End! Trick or treat!
Trick or treat!
What is this? What is this story? The cousins shouted it back. The adults returned the greeting too, looking a little embarrassed. Angie alone stood there with her mouth open, unable to comprehend what had just happened. She is the audience be like, wait, what? This is not how Kinzo normally could be.
よくぞ来たぞ我が孫たち。お菓子はくれなきゃいたずらしてしまうぞである。
They're actually gonna make Kinzo likable in this one, I guess.
ほらマリア。
おじいさま、ハッピーハロウィーン。今年はすごいの、驚いて驚いて。
Maria picked up a present that had been hidden behind a sofa. All the other relatives were suddenly holding similar packages as well.
ほら、エンジェも。
I was like, is this the culmination of all the horrible things that have happened, especially the last episode with just, like, I felt like Angie felt so hopeless seeing her parents just be so brutal. And this one is just almost like a, hey, that one was a real bummer, so we're gonna, like, kind of keep it light this time for our last story.
これをおじい様に渡して。
Kyrie handed Angie a neatly wrapped present.
おお、マリアいつもありがとう。おじいちゃんは嬉しいぞ。
He's acting the way a grandpa should actually act. As Kinzo took Maria's present, a smile broke out across his face, and he rubbed his cheek up against it.
親方様、威厳をお
Your
忘れでござい
dignity.
ます。
It's gone.
そうであったな。嬉しいぞ、我が孫マリアよ。
I love the idea of all this time, this is how he truly was, but he was just like, he had to maintain an image, but he's just a total goofball underneath.
お菓子をくれたので、今年はいたずらは勘弁してやろうぞ。
今度はおじい様の番。お菓子をくれなきゃいたずらしちゃうぞ。
心得ておるぞ。Genji。
こちらを。
Genji fished through something that looked like Santa Claus's sack and pulled out a present addressed to Maria, handing it over to Kinzo.
あれ、マリア。おじいちゃんからのプレゼントであるぞ。
More and more I can see why Battler said at the beginning that it's up to us to choose whether to believe this story or not, because it seems pretty unbelievable.
これはの。
Somehow this is less... This is harder for me to take in than all the magical stuff that has happened previously, because at least after a while you got used to it, but Kinzo acting like this, after 7 chapters of him being like so the opposite of this is just what a whiplash.
マリアにあげるのが惜しいわい。
親方様、威厳。
これは後ろ宮家当主からのマリアへのプレゼントである。これはそのかわいい。
I just like to imagine up in his room, he's got just like a collection of stuffed animals hidden away. He loves cute
後ろ
stuff.
宮家の貫禄にふさわしい品であるぞ。
A true tsundere. Like, just like keeping that like asshole, outward appearance, but secretly likes cute things.
心して受け取るがよい。
ありがとう、おじい様。大好き。チュチュチュ。
おお、マリア。我がかわいい。
For once, he's not going Beatrice. No, it's Maria. This is unnerving. By this point, even Genji had to give up on Kinzo's dignity. Still, the dignity of the family head had lasted a full 10 seconds longer than usual this year. So is this implying, like... I love the idea, like, what, Kinzo does this every year?
おじい様、ハッピーハロウィン。
This is what I want to choose to believe. I want to be in this world. I want Angie to be in this world where everybody actually, even Kinzo, is nice to each other.
これは僕からです。
ハッピーハロウィン。これは私から。気に入ってくれるといいんだけど。
おお、ジョージにジェシカ。今年もありがとう。私は嬉しいぞ。
I mean, Kinzo's dead at this point, so this is just Battler, I assume, making stuff up to make it a little bit more palatable for Angie. With tears streaming down his face, Kinzo hugged George and Jessica.
そしてバトラか。よく戻ってきたな、後ろ宮家に。寂しかったぞ、この6年間。
いや、まあハッピーハロウィン気に入ってくれるかわからねえけど。
良いのだバトラよ。言いたいこともあろう、聞きたいこともあろう。だが今はそれはなしだ。
じいさ
ん、よく後ろ宮家に戻ってきてくれたな。私は嬉しいぞ。
Slowly, Kinzo moved forward and hugged Battler. Battler drew back at first, but he then understood Kinzo's feelings and hugged him back. Angie watched the scene played out, shocked. Was Ushiromiya Kinzo always this kind of person?
Ange, 次はお前の番だぞ.
Even, yeah, like I said, she is us. Like, this is weird. This is off.
ほら、それをおじい様に渡して。
あ、うん。
Angie didn't have a clue what was going on. She took the present her mother had given her and walked forward timidly. Kinzo's face, which had been looking so cheery a second ago, seemed to become much sterner the moment Angie stepped forward. No, it hadn't become stern. That expression was the one always worn by the Kinzo inside Angie's mind. This was Ushiromiya Kinzo. He was fickle, short-tempered, always with a stern expression on his face. The most terrifying person in the Ushiromiya family. It felt as though the world had gone suddenly quiet, and it had only done it when it was my turn to step forward. Why? Why only for me? But even so, isn't this the way it should be? Isn't this the Ushiromiya Kinzo I expect? The Ushiromiya Kinzo I understand? I was like a puppet carrying tea. I walked forward, bewildered, with the present held out in front of me, and stopped in front of Kinzo. Without letting his expression change in the slightest, Kinzo slowly reached out and touched the present. Aww. Aww. Oh my goodness. In an instant, Angie was caught in a firm embrace, present and all. Kinzo's white beard rubbed against her cheek.
おじいちゃんは嬉しいだ。
He's on the good drugs.
私はこんなにも可愛らしい孫たちを持てて嬉しい。
That's what this is. Instead of drinking like that really gross drink, quote unquote, that is always prepared for him, they just gave him something to just like make him super happy. I don't know. He's like on ecstasy. I don't know. He's got the good weed. I don't know, but like it's doing something for him.
嬉しくて涙が止まらぬ。
親方様、鼻水が。ついでに威厳もお忘れなく。
源氏、すまぬ。
This is amazing. I love this chapter already. As the old man blew his nose, he didn't look like he could possibly anyone other than a kindly grandpa overcome with tears at his grandchildren's gifts. I'm not saying that my grandpa was this emotional, but like, I don't know, it's making me happy. It's just giving me like, yeah, like kindly grandfather vibes, because we have a big family and we always look forward to going over to his place on Christmas. And this is how it would be. Like, he was like the patriarch of the whole family. And we all looked up to him. So it's just like, I'm just getting a little emotional.
ありがとう、エンジ。聞けば、体調が悪いのに無理をしてきてくれたそうだな。おじいちゃんは本当に嬉しいぞ。さあ。お前にはこれだ。
He pressed a large gift box to Angie's chest. She finally realized all the presents given out by Kinzo were wrapped differently and in boxes of different sizes.
エンジには何だろうな。毎年じいさまが誰に何を送るか。これだけの大人数をよくやるもんだよな。
毎年自分で。
So this is Battler, I guess, maybe like nudging her a little bit. Like, what do you think of this? Do you believe this? He does. What, every year? He picks? What, himself? This bizarre ceremony happens every year? The cousins were all happily chattering about what their Halloween presents would be this year. Maria came up to Angie and suggested they compare the weights of their presents, but for some reason Angie just stared blankly. After that, the adults also handed their presents to Kinzo one by one, receiving a gift in return along with considerate words about how their health and questions about how they'd been doing recently. Then after watching to see all the exchanges had been completed, Goda appeared and announced lunch was ready.
そうか、準備ができたか。さあ、一同諸君、ゴーダ自慢のランチに舌鼓を打とうではないか。さあさあ、食堂へ移動しよ
う。どうぞ皆様、ご案内いたします。
プレゼントは私どもでゲストハウスのお部屋へお運びいたします。
どうぞ。置いたままでお食事に向かわれてください。
Yeah, this is like a weird one. So we got Kinzo just being real different. We got Shannon and Cannon constantly in the same room together as before. That happened very rarely. It's just like everything's all topsy-turvy. The relatives stood up, leaving their presents where they lay on tables and sofas, and followed Kinzo out of the parlor. Only Angie remained standing there, stunned, as she clutched the gift box Kinzo had given her. Never once had Goda's lunches betrayed expectations. When Hideyoshi said the lunches were the only reason anyone ever came to the family conferences, everyone laughed and nodded. Delicious food had a way of keeping conversation flowing. You've gotten so tall. How have you been lately? Oh, you know, not bad. It was a fun meal, with everyone asking each other about the latest and laughing together. The Ushirimiya family sat at meals in a specific ranked seating order, so the adult siblings, the cousins, and the spouses all sat in groups. That made it even easier for conversation to flow smoothly. Angie had withdrawn slightly from the cousins' chat and was looking around the dining hall. What are Kinzo and the adult siblings doing? Their conversation seemed to be peaceful and fun. Most of the time, the siblings were mothers or fathers of their own households. However, when they gathered together by themselves in front of Kinzo, that burden was lifted from their shoulders, and they became young and bright as though they'd gone back to being kids again. Like, this is so different. Like, before, like, you know, they would have these kind of, like, pleasant chats, but you could tell that there was, like, a surface level. Like, there was kind of that tension, especially, like, if Kinzo's around. But this, they actually look like a normal family enjoying their company. Rudolph, who was usually an easygoing father, but one with a sense of dignity, became so bright and cheery in this group, it almost looked like there was another Battler. Even Kinzo looked peaceful and relaxed. He didn't say a word about money or the inheritance. In fact, he didn't even insult his children or call them incompetent. It's like Battler had his story that he made, the game board that he made for Beatrice, and this is one for Angie. He just looked like a happy old man, genuinely pleased to have his whole family together for the only time this year. Yeah, like, once again, this is giving me vibes about, like, unfortunately, it's tough now, because, we're all older, and a lot of my cousins have their own families, but, like, when I was younger, like, that was our Christmas. Like, Christmas time was when we would see each other once a year, and it was this thing. It's like we all get along, have good conversations, catch up. It's something we all looked forward to. This is how family should be. The group of spouses was just as harmonious. Their conversation jumped from topic to topic on motherly issues like their children's education, the running of the household, and family health. Hideyoshi and even Nanjo happily joined in. And what about the cousins? There was no way such a fun dinner table with such a fun group of friends could fail to be raucous. Now the cousins, like, that's the one consistent where they all enjoyed each other's company and they all got along. Maria was in her element, showing off her knowledge of Halloween trivia. George and Jessica would nod in understanding. Battler would say something stupid and Mario would laugh at him. If I wanted, I could easily join in on the conversation. And I could easily slip out of it too by shifting my attention to the dessert. It was happiness, both fun and natural. It felt like I was enjoying a pleasant doze in the rays of the springtime sun.
I
wonder if it's going to end up turning like it always does, which would be even more of like a mood whiplash, because it just seems even more pleasant lately.
台風らしいからな。こりゃ今年も一泊じゃ済まなさそうだぜ。
私は一向に構わんぞ。一泊と言わずいつまででも泊まっていくがいい。可愛い孫の顔が何日でも見られるなら、私は毎日雨乞いをしてまやいぞ。
よしてよ、仕事があるんだから。
お父様が島を出ればいいんじゃない？そうすればもっと好きな時に孫の顔を見られるでしょうに。
確かに風情はあるが、離島の暮らしはそろそろ答えるんじゃありませんか。
都会はうるさい。私の家族だけしかいない静かな島が一番だ。私はここを気に入っている。
でも六軒島じゃいざという時お医者様を呼ぶのにも時間がかかるわ。
同感よ。もうお父様も年なんだから、せめて新島に引っ越すべきだと思うわ。
私はもう老い家族だけに囲まれて静かに暮らしたい。そして私は幸せ者だ。それを実現できるこの島がある
This
の
one,
だ
it's
か
not
ら。
about Beatrice. He hasn't talked about her once. It's all about family.
お父さん。
しんみりさせてしまったな。諸君、これでゴーダのランチは終了だ。孫たちよ、明日からはずっと雨らしい。晴れているのは今しかないぞ。バラをめでて、それから浜辺を散歩してはどうか。
そうですね。じゃあみんなそうさせてもらおう
I'm
か。
curious about what the actual family conference is going to go like. Will that just be normal as well? Nothing, no issues? No death in this one?
バラをめでて浜辺を散歩する。
Except there's got to be some death because, like, Angie knows that people died on the island. So, if, like, there's no death, then Angie knows for sure, like, okay, this story is not true. And it's up to her whether or not to believe the tale and believe what Battler tells her.
貝殻拾いしてガラス拾いもする。
ガラス拾い？なんだそりゃ、危ないな。
ガラスのかけらが波に現れて丸くなって綺麗な石になって流れ着いてるんだよ。忘れたかよバトラー。昔一緒に拾ったろ。
ああ、あれガラスのかけらだったのか。俺はてっきりそういう綺麗な石なんだと思い込んでたぜ。
エンジはガラスの石見たことある？ない。じゃあ行こう。マリアが教えてあげるよ。行こう。でも早い者勝ちだよ。マリアが全部拾っちゃう。
なら私も負けないぜ。誰が一番綺麗で大きなガラス石を拾えるか競争しよ
う。やれやれ、ここは一つ童心に戻るとするかな。負けねえぞ。
じゃあ僕たちは浜辺へ行ってきます。
いとこ同士のんびりしてくるがよい。
The cousins rose from their seats and noisily left the dining hall. Maria grabbed Angie's hand and dragged her along. However, Angie's expression was vague and absent-minded, the opposite of Maria's full smile. Alright, this has been very interesting so far. Are there's going to be any mention of Shannon at all? I think that time has passed. Like, I think this is all about Angie. 6-year-old Angie. This is a very Angie-centered one, because she's been kind of in the background for a bit, so it's nice to see that she might get some closure on things. The cousins walked along the water's edge playing. They searched for bits of glass polished by the waves to become small and gem-like. They caught up on news of each other's lives and joked around. They wrote words in the sand. They chased the receding waves and ran away from the coming ones. The cousins enjoyed this time they had to themselves.
待て待てマリア！今度は許さねえぞ！
転ぶと怪我をするよ。二人とも気をつけて。
風が強くなってきたかな。そろそろ引き上げた方がいいかもしれねえぜ。
そうだね。空も曇ってきた気がするよ。バトラ君、マリアちゃん、そろそろおしまいにして一度ゲストハウスに戻ろうか。
お、やだ。もっと遊ぶ。
こらこら、聞き分けろおい。じゃあこれでおしまいだ。ほら、俺のガラス石やるよ。
おーい、本当？ありがとうバトラー。これで一番数が多いのはマリアだから優勝だね。
エンジェ、大丈夫か？
どうしたエンジェ、少し元気ないぞ。
疲れたんだよ。さあ、みんなで戻ろう。
True, Angie's expression probably looked tired. However, Battler alone thought he saw something else in it.
なんかあったのか？話してごらん。
なんでもない。
Aw, what a good big brother. She said that, but something in her expression showed she was unsatisfied for some reason. However, since Angie wouldn't say what it was, and Battler couldn't think of anything, that was the limit of what he could figure out. So he squeezed her small hand, silently letting her know she could tell him whenever she was ready. Aww. It's nice after this whole thing with, like, the Beatrice and all the other relationships, we're getting the, like, Battler-Angie relationship. We're getting more to that. It seemed such a bright, sunny day until a short while ago. However, the sky had turned gray, and the wind had started to feel more annoying than pleasant. If they waited around, they might have to deal with scattered raindrops as well.
これであとはずーっと大雨ってわけか。なんだかげんなりするぜ。
でも短い時間だったけど童心に戻れて楽しかったよ。
このガラス石、早くママに見せてあげるの。マリアが優勝したってママに教えるの。
Is this a world where Rose is not a total dick to her daughter too? Is this just like the perfect world where everybody gets along?
俺が見つけたやつを譲ったんだけどな。
おお、マリアがもらったからマリアのものなの。だからマリアが優勝なの。
Angie walked distractedly, pulled along by her brother. George and the others thought she had probably woken up too early and was tired, so they didn't try to talk to her much. As they reached the end of the forested path, the rose garden lay before them. They could see the strong winds making the rose bushes wave.
Mama! 見て！マリアが優勝したの！
Waving a hand about and yelling, Maria ran. Rosa was waving to her from the front of the guest house.
私は一度自分の部屋に戻るぜ。そしたらすぐいとこ部屋に行くよ。
うん、わかったよ。じゃあ後ほどね。
Jessica ran off in the direction of the mansion. George turned around as though suggesting they'd better get going too. However, when he saw Angie standing still with a crappy look on her face, he realized she might have been put in a bad mood by something.
大丈夫かい？
ああ、大丈夫だよ。悪いけど先に行っててくれねえかな。
うん、わかったよ。じゃあ後で。
George headed for the guest house. The only ones left in the rose garden were Battler, who was waving at George, and Angie, who was still staring at the ground and holding Battler's hand. For the past few minutes, he'd repeatedly asked Angie what was wrong. He realized this wasn't anything like a stomach ache or something obvious that had put her in a bad mood. However, young girls sometimes get upset for reasons that only they can understand. Battler knew this, so he didn't try to rush her in any way, and continued to gaze around the beautiful rose garden holding her hand. Yeah, he's such a sweetie. He's a goof, but like, I love that he's in tune to her enough to know, like, he could sense that there was something off.
どうした？
どこ？ここ。
Is this the golden land where everything's perfect? And, like, everybody's together again? She asked the question, as though she was talking about something on the other side of the silver screen. Though Battler understood what the question meant, he played dumb.
どこって、ロッケン島だろ？
違うわ。
違わねえさ。
これのどこがロッケン島だっていうのよ。
1986年10月4日のお前が知りたがってたロッケン島だ。
嘘よ。
Yeah, right, because he said, he's like, as your brother, I hope you trust me enough to believe that what I tell you is the truth.
どうして？
こんなの嘘っぱちだわ。
Angie wrenched her hand from her brother's grip. The hand hit a rose and sent flower petals flying.
俺は嘘なんかつかねえ。
これのどこが真実だっていうの？
Angie spat those words out. However, Battler's expression remained calm and composed.
何が気に入らない？
後宮金蔵って
She's like, you went a little strong on that. She's like, maybe I might have believed it if you didn't go so in the opposite direction of how he normally is.
あんな人のわけないでしょ。
孫たちとしばらくぶりに再会したなら、どこのじいさんだって目尻を下げるだろうぜ。
少なくとも後宮金蔵はそういう人じゃなかったでしょ。後宮金蔵ってのは
厳格で気難しく、短気で怒りっぽい。
分かってるじゃない。何よあれ。あれのどこが後宮金蔵なのよ。ハロウィン？プレゼント交換？何よそれ。
just imagine a little 6-year-old being like, what the hell?
こんなの後宮金蔵じゃない。ロッケン島じゃない。
エンジェは覚えてないのか？
何がよ。
こんなのはいつも恒例だったじゃねえか。
I feel like Battler's gaslighting me and Angie. And telling us to believe him.
これが？
そうだよな。お前が親族会議に来たのは6歳より前なんだもんな。
I want to believe, Battler. I want to believe.
なら覚えてなくても無理はない。
覚えてなくてもって。
Angie understood what her brother was trying to say. However, she couldn't accept it.
後宮金蔵は確かに厳しい人だったさ。若かった時は相当きつく息子たちに当たっていたらしい。それが半ばトラウマになって、クソ親父たちが未だじいさまのことをおっかながっていることは、まあ確かに外れじゃない。
The grand tale of how Kinzo had restored the Ushirmiya family was more than enough to paint him as a rigid, terrifying man. Furthermore, Kinzo was an investor. All the legends and tales that made him seem more mysterious had probably worked in his business's favor. At times, Kinzo may even have acted out the part people expected, endeavoring to make his presence all the more overpowering. That's why the world at large spoke of Ushirmiya Kinzo as a strict, short-tempered man. And they even thought of him as a fickle, bold, incomprehensible eccentric.
でもそれはじいさまの外の
You
顔
gotta
だ。
think too, like Battler also, like, I mean, the last time he was there, he was 12, so he probably remembers his grandfather a little bit better, but am I really to believe that, like, he softened that much with his grandchildren versus his children?
後宮家で親類一同水入らずで過ごす時の顔じ
Maybe
ゃ
this
ない。
is the whole thing at, like, looking at things with love, where it's like Battler is seeing through, you know, what people, they put out an image or whatever, and he's looking at it from another way.
目尻を下げて孫たちを溺愛する涙腺の緩んだ老人が後宮金蔵の本当の姿だっていうの。
エンジェだって遊んでもらったり頭を撫でてもらったりしたことがあるはずだ。本当に覚えてないのか？
Things like that might have happened once or twice, but that would have only been a mere whim of Kinzo's. My parents told me all the time, grandfather is a terrifying person, so make sure you don't mess up. They always, always said that he's very scary, so take care.
だから怖い人なのよ。
幼いお前は親の言いつけを過剰に聞いて鵜呑みにする。よく言えば素直
Meanwhile,
な。
Battler is not an obedient kid.
悪く言えば思い込みの激しい子だった。親父たちは行儀よくしてるようにと念を押していただけなんだ。
私見てたもん。知ってたもん。後宮金蔵は恐ろしい人だって怒鳴ってるところを見たことがあるもん。私は覚えてる。忘れない。
さっきも見た通り じいさまは唐突なお人だ。ひょっとすると何かを驚かそうとしたのかもしれない。あるいは親たちとの真剣な議論の中でつい怒鳴ってしまったこともあったかもしれない。
それを私が勝手に怯えて、勝手にそうだと思い込んだっていうの？
I guess this whole game could just be about like people having the wrong idea about other people and their motivations and their thoughts and their feelings.
そんなはずないわ。そんなはずない。だって私は覚えてるもの忘れない。ちゃんと見たわ。後ろ宮金蔵が怒鳴ってる恐ろしいところ。父さんも母さんも怯えていたわ。だからわかるの。私はわかる。
幼いお前が抱いたじいさまの印象はそのまま残り、お前の成長とともに膨らんだ。
How many times did Angie see Kinzo in her life? How old was she the last time she saw him? Angie, who got sick easily when under pressure, couldn't have gone to Rokkenjima often. And since she was absent for the family conference when she was 6, her last memories of him must have come from when she was just 5 years old.
お兄ちゃんだって6年間後ろ宮金蔵には会ってないじゃない。
そうだな。でも6年ぶりに帰ってきて、じいさまは6年経っても全く変わってなかったって知ったぜ。
金蔵は気まぐれで何を考えてるかわからなくて、不気味なオカルト趣味の鬼人で。
オカルト趣味なのは間違いない。妖精の趣味にしちゃちょいと珍しいものだったのは事実だ。
I get Battler to say, well, would you say that about Maria too? Is she? Well, I was gonna say, I kind of answered that own question. Maria's a little strange, but nothing wrong with that.
その不気味な収集品で孫を怖がらせてからかう悪い趣味があったことは俺。
Even Battler had been pranked by Kinzo in the past. He showed me an attaché case with 7 strange stakes in it, there's the stakes, and said something about how witches in the Middle Ages used them in sacrificial rituals to gouge out the heart. When Kinzo first showed me those, I was pretty frightened, but looking back on it, it really was the kind of prank that could only fool a child. I can't believe this, all of this time. Like, thinking about Kinzo in one way and now it's just being shattered. That's if you choose to believe Battler. I'm starting to come around on it. Like, I don't think Kinzo was quite that, like, the way that Battler presented him there was maybe an exaggerated version of Kinzo, but maybe there's something, he's somewhere in the middle. He's not like that scary, heartless person to his whole family, but he's not like a weeping baby either. He's just like maybe a normal person. Grandfather only scared his grandchildren because he wanted to joke around with them.
じいさまはきっとお前にも同じことをしてからかったと思う。幼いお前がそれに怯えてじいさまを不気味で恐ろしい人だと思い込んだとしても無理もない話だと思う。
お兄ちゃんが何を言ってるのかわからない。
Angie bit her lower lip and stared at the ground. She said she didn't understand, but in truth she understood perfectly and was refusing to accept it.
さっき客間でハロウィンのプレゼント交換があったな。
何よあれ。あんな甘ったるいこと後ろ宮家でやるわけがない。
お前はまるで覚えてないんだな。
私もかつてプレゼントをもらったことがあるというの？覚えてない。そんなのあるわけがない。
オカルト好きで西洋かぶれのじいさまがハロウィンをやらないと思うか？じいさまのハッピーハロウィンはもう親族会議の挨拶みたいなもんだったぜ。エンジェラってもらってるはずだ。幼いってのは残酷だな。
Oh yeah, there's the thing with those two, right?
じいさまが心を込めて選んだろうプレゼント。お前の心には全く残らなかった。
私が幼かったから覚えてないだけで、あれが真実の10月4日だというの？
あの日も6年前と何も変わらず、じいさまはハッピーハロウィンの声とともに客間にやってきたよ。
Kinzo was dead at that point. Hasn't that been established? Battler, you're gaslighting me, I feel like. I don't know what to think.
そして俺との6年ぶりの再会に涙をこぼしてくれながら、
In almost every other game after, though, they have said they've established in red many times that Kinzo died before 1984. So it can't be true, right?
じいさまはエンジェが来れなかったことを残念がっていたよ。だからエンジェにぜひ渡してくれとキリエさんにプレゼントボックスを預けていた。
I wonder if the present is it the key, the necklace that she's wearing? I mean, that's maybe it. And so Battler gave her that key to be like, that's your present.
そうだな。お前に届けることはできなかったな。
私は信じない。あんな後ろ宮金蔵なんて信じない。じゃあ親族会議はどうなの？遺産分配のためのきな臭いものじゃなかったの？親族兄弟たちはみんな資金繰りに困っていた。そのために金蔵の遺産を渇望していた。
エンジェはそんなことをどこで知った？
どこって、そうでしょ？それが真実でしょ？
幼いエンジェに親父が自分の会社の経営が苦しいなどと相談すると思うか？親父だけじゃない、クラウスおじさんやエヴァおばさん、ローザおばさんが
Damn it, all of this is just assumptions that Angie
資
had?
金繰りに困っているから早く遺産が欲しいなんて話を。
That is true, like it's very uncouth, like especially for a kid that young to be talking about money problems in front of them.
仮にするにしてもお前がいる前ですると思うか？
だってでも本当でしょ？
That was the bottom line. Angie's words were not mistaken. Not only Rudolph, but Kraus, Hideyoshi, and Rosa as well, all had companies in money trouble. People started talking about the Rokkenjima explosion accident as though it was some sort of conspiracy, and a mystery imagined by the public covered the island. Weekly magazines and television shows researched the circumstances of Kinzo's children at the time, and in the future where Angie lived, that research had been made public. So she just made assumptions based on, like, the news.
1986年よりも。
でも事実でしょ？事実は真実。
だからロッケン島での親族たちは遺産をめぐってギスギスしていたってわけか？そこにエンジェの幼い頃の親族会議では粗相がないように行儀よくしているようにと親に重ねて言われて緊張した記憶が重なる。
私の知っているロッケン島が
I want to believe after what happened last time and just feeling so beaten down with the quote unquote the truth, being so brutal with, like, you know, Kyrie and Rudolph just thoughtlessly, mercilessly gunning down their whole family. This is just so the opposite. I want to believe this is the truth, but like I'm stuck on the Kinzo thing. Maybe everything that I've been told in the past was not true, but I don't know what to think.
間違ってるっていうの？間違ってるのはお兄ちゃんよ。あんなのありえない。あるわけがない。私は認めないわ。あんな後ろ宮金蔵断じてあんな後ろ宮金蔵を受け入れることなんてできない。
エンジェは信じないのか？
ええ、信じない。お兄ちゃんがどういうつもりでこんなものを見せているのかわからないけれど、だってこれはお兄ちゃんのゲーム、いえゲーム版じゃない。ベアトだのベルンだの何人もの魔女が私の運命を嘲笑い、そのゲームで屈服させようとしてきたわ。でも私は真実を求めている。魔女たちのまやかしなんか通用しない。 なるほどね。魔女たちめ、最後の資格にお兄ちゃんを送り込んできたってわけだわ。
そうだな。これは俺のゲームだ。だから確かにこれは俺の物語であり、
So we're back to the games full of love again, as opposed to the last one.
だからこそ、もしもお前が島に来ることができたならという if を混ぜることができる。
ほら、お兄ちゃんの物語じゃない。全部お兄ちゃんの嘘っぱちの作り話じゃない。
そうだな。これは全て俺の作り話だ。
ほら、認めたわね。認めたじゃない。やっぱりこれはお兄ちゃんの嘘なのよ。どうして嘘をつくの？どうして私に真実を教えてくれないの？
真実よりもっと大切な、どうしても伝えたいことがあるからだ。
真実より大切なこと？何それ？わけわかんない。
それを分からせるためのものが俺のゲームだ。
Just as Beato's games were made to make Battler believe in witches, Battler's game was made to communicate something to Angie that was more important than the truth. Games never bring about their intended ends by force. After all, Beato's games could never be won for all eternity unless Battler himself acknowledged his loss. Battler's game was the same. This was a game that Battler couldn't win unless Angie acknowledged it herself. So Battler had advanced this game just as Beato had done in the past. To believe or not, to accept or not, the decision lay solely in the hands of the opponent. And so, Battler was trying to enshroud Angie with his own illusion.
ようやく理解したわ。これは私とお兄ちゃんのゲームなのね。
エンジェ、俺はお前とゲームをしているつもりはない。
いいえ、これはゲームだわ。私は1986年10月4日の真実が知りたいと願った。そしてお兄ちゃんは私にそれを見せると言ってこのゲームへ招いたわ。そしておかしな幻想を見せて、それが真実だと私に信じ込ませようとしている。おあいにくね。私、魔女たちとのやりとりは慣れてるの。
She's just been so beaten down. I don't blame her for being just, you know, distrusting of
お兄ちゃん
everything.
が優しそうな顔をして私を騙そうとしてることなんて百も承知なんだから。
Big Brother knew that no words of his would have any effect on his enraged little sister, so he quietly listened to Angie's words. But for Angie, even that was frustrating.
もうくだらない茶番は飽き飽きだわ。お兄ちゃんに真実を話す気がないと言うならもうおしまいにして。私は私の真実を自分で探す。お兄ちゃんには頼らない。そうよ、もともと頼るべき人間なんて私はいつだって一人ぼっちだったわよ。
悪いが、このゲームから降りることは許さない。
ああ、そうだったわね。ゲームマスターが負けを認めない限りゲームは永遠に終わらないんだったっけ。
そんなつもりはないさ。黙って話を聞けってだけのことだ。
ああ、そう。なら黙ってることにするわ。プレイヤーがいなくても駒は勝手に動きゲームは進む。そうだったわよね。
そうだな。プレイヤーを離れ少し傍観者になるといい。そしてまた戻ってきたい時に戻ればいい。
そうさせてもらうわ。
It's funny, Angie was so excited at the beginning to like go to Rokkenjima. That's all she wanted, and now she's just rejecting it because it's just so unlike what she was expecting.
これは根比べよ。お兄ちゃんが真実をごまかすことを諦めるまでのね。真実より大切なこと？意味わかんない。そんなものあるわけがない。
あるんだよ、エン
I'm
ジ。
guessing love, right?
仮に俺の物語が真実でなかったとしても、お前は大切なものをこの島でなくしているんだ。
お父さん、お母さん、そしてお兄ちゃん、
私がなくしたのは家族と、そして全てよ。
She spat out those words as though no further questioning would do any good and looked away. Even as he watched this, Battler's expression remained gentle.
勝手に進めなさいよ。じゃあね、お兄ちゃん。
物語だけはちゃんと見ていろよ。聞くだけでもいい。
気が向いたらね。じゃあ。
All right, so that was a very interesting start to this chapter. Yeah, the whole thing with Kinzo, I am like Angie. I was just flabbergasted by that. But Battler did say in his game there's something that he wants to show Angie, which is even more important than the truth. I'm guessing it's going to have something to do with love, something like that. This story has pushed that whole thing about, like, you know, love and all that. So we'll see. It's just really cute to see Battler and Angie together finally, you know, after being apart for so long. Little baby Angie is just stinking adorable, and that whole thing that was mentioned at the beginning where, like, Angie has the choice to, you know, believe what Battler is saying and to make a choice at the end, something to do with that key, that book that was presented at the beginning. I'm certainly intrigued by this, and I'm curious to see how much different this story is going to be with Angie around and with Battler telling the story, because eventually, I mean, we are going to have to start having some murders, I assume, because Battler will have to follow the, you know, general, like, chain of events of what have happened. So, yeah, I am looking forward to seeing how the rest of this is going to go, what other changes there's going to be, and if Angie chooses to believe Battler, because so far she does not seem very convinced at all. She's rejecting the game immediately, and I don't blame her after being burned so many times by the witches. But very, very strong start to this final chapter, so I'm curious to see what will happen next. I hope you guys enjoyed this first part of Chapter 8, and stay tuned next week to see what happens next. Until then, bye guys. Special thanks to my top tier patrons: Kiori Makoto, SM, Revealing Storm, Tequila Mockingbird, Asborn Kennedy, Harry Gazif, iCognito, Jared Fan, Joel Ustman, and Zoran Ether.